As Black Lives Matter and Antifa protests continue to rage across the country, tensions are beginning to rise between these extreme groups and the average American who has grown tired of the endless destruction and chaos ravaging their city streets. One of the most common ways we see people fighting back against Black Lives Matter is simply with the phrase, "All lives matter." Unfortunately, in our heightened political climate, this phrase, which has oftentimes been met with much controversy, has led to the shooting and ultimate death of 24-year-old mother Jessica Whitaker. Whitaker, who leaves behind a 3-year-old son, was shot and killed in Indianapolis last week by Black Lives Matter members after uttering the phrase, "All lives matter." According to her fiancé, Jose Ramirez, he, Jessica, and 2 other friends were hanging out alongside the canal in Indianapolis when someone in their group allegedly used a slang version of the N-word. The word then prompted a confrontation by a group of strangers who began shouting "Black Lives Matter," to which Jessica responded, "All lives matter." Tensions became heated when the BLM group brandished weapons, prompting Ramirez to do the same. The groups then decided to work things out and ended up walking away after the initial confrontation. However, just minutes after walking away, members of the BLM group opened fire on Jessica's group from a nearby bridge, resulting in her dying from a bullet wound to the head. Jessica's sister shared that Jessica did not have a racist bone in her body, and since her murder, BLM and anti-police accounts have flooded the social media accounts of Jessica and her family to smear her name and justify her killing, calling her a racist and a white supremacist despite no evidence that she used any racial slur. Her father also pointed out that this incident happened well over a week ago during the 4th of July weekend. However, neither CNN nor Fox News, 2 of the news outlets that have been intent on sharing stories centered around race tensions, have reached out to cover the story, with the Gateway pundit being first to bring light to the story on a national scale. However, this isn't the first incident of black-on-white hate crime the media has refused to cover. As racial tension continues to rise in America amid the George Floyd riots and protests, many members of the white community have fallen victim to being falsely accused of racism and have suffered greatly as a result. Let's not forget this 50-year-old Macy's employee who was punched in the back of the head and beaten after 2 men alleged that he said the N-word. He was on a phone call prior to the attack, and recordings of the call vindicated him of the false allegations. And surveillance footage also showed the suspect approaching the employee from behind and punching him in the head in an unprovoked attack, countering the fake story he laid out to the media. If the roles had been reversed and a white man was beating a black man, it would be a national story for months. But since that was not the case, the story quickly dissipated, with prosecutors sharing there was not enough evidence to charge this incident as a hate crime. Let's also take a look at this pregnant woman who was harassed and threatened at a Chipotle when a black teen alleged that the woman bumped into her.
She bumped into me when
So she did something wrong. She needs to apologize. If she did
this ignorant woman bumped into a 15-year-old.
Correct.
And you're on camera.
Okay.
You're feeling threatened.
Okay, well go in.
No, Mom.
I got this.
You're blocking me from getting
No,
my
girl, dumbass bitch. Yeah, I said it. You say something, I'll beat your white ass. I will. Do something. Please put your
something.
hands
Do
up.
You cannot just walk
Why
around
would you
calling
bump her?
white
Why
people
would you bump her?
racist. This is not that
Why
type
would
of
you
world.
bump her?
White people
Why
are
would
racist.
you bump her?
No one's
Why
racist.
would you bump her?
I
Why
care
did you
about
say
you.
sorry?
I care
Why
about
did you say sorry?
And I'm sorry if you
Why
had
did you say sorry?
Was made
If you
someone
bumped
made
into
you
her,
feel
why
like
did you
that.
say sorry?
No one is
If
racist.
you
Her mother then decided to call the woman and her husband a racist, threaten and harass them as they tried to drive away. She then followed their car as they began backing up and slapped the vehicle, resulting in the woman brandishing her weapon in an attempt to finally get away. Guess who was labeled a racist and has since been charged with a felonious assault? That's right, the pregnant woman who was carelessly labeled a racist and then harassed, threatened, and bullied out of not leaving the area. And finally, because we could really go on all day, let's not forget this young 12-year-old boy who was dancing on a sidewalk when a grown man jumped out of his car and punched him in the back of the head, in an attempt to play what seems to be the knockout game. A game centered around finding a white victim and trying to knock them out with one punch. The man is being charged with 2 felony assaults, but no hate crime. Would the outcome be the same if the races were reversed? And more importantly, if none of those incidents of black-on-white threats and assaults are hate crimes, then why is this? This couple simply painted over a Black Lives Matter slogan painted across their city and are being charged with a hate crime. Similarly, A person hacked into a digital traffic sign and wrote "All Lives Matter," prompting their police chief and mayor to issue a sincere apology to anyone who drove by the sign. In Chicago, citizens changed the BLM slogan to read "All Lives Matter," prompting news outlets to write about the defacing and vandalization of this great mural. But punch, falsely accuse, threaten, and even kill a white person, and you get off without the phrase hate crime even being uttered. As we continue to see an immense rise in racial tensions across America, the media continues to paint any counter-protest to the BLM message as a hate crime, while simultaneously ignoring the countless attacks and now murder of those who try to unify the nation through the phrase "All Lives Matter." This has been Savannah Hernandez with Action 7 News.